Me and you both.
Okay. Page 7, we're going to start through the whole thing today. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge, through merit from giving and the rest. To aid all may I become Buddha. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge, through merit from giving and the rest. To aid all may I become Buddha. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge, through merit from giving and the rest. To aid all may I become Buddha. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be parted from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from bias, attachment, and hatred. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of this shackles land, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shaka clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shaka clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O Supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, and you placed us, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then I prostrate. With pure bodies, formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, being that blazes in the three worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the three worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to thusness I prostrate. The purity that frees love from attachment, the virtue that frees love from the lower realms, the one path to sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all three ever devout homage, to all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms, and all aspects. With supreme faith I beg homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtues. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, the flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Whose merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing. Subdue the foe of false and be delivered from samsara's ocean. Perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Page 35.
Paragade para Sangade Bodhi Soha Ayagade Paragade para Sangade Bodhi Soha Ayata Gade Gade Paragade para Sangade Bodhi Soha
Aga Samaranza Shadara Samaraya Pe Pava Kunjosun Gede Bachin Betoki Sher Bawali Yevaki Tange Baje Midin Bechoren Negoro Soha Kiri Tonra Gaju Shevara Midin Kenda Devara Tembaru Yesu Taji Dejan Den Dele Sho Sashi.
Page 35.
Sangye Shendo Mende Ewa Yin Rugu Namda Shinla Jevara Sho Yidam Guru Rana Genden Cheta Sambe Dijez Savye Juye Jawa Abdu Yidam Guru Rana Mende Lavani Kaya Mi Sangye Cheto Zoye Chanang La Chanju Badu Dane Gyezu Age Shushen Gebe Sonange Rola Bende Sangye Roba Sho Sangye Chetan Soye Chanang La Chanju Badu Dane Gyezu Age Shushen Gebe Sonange Rola Bende Sangye Roba Sho Sangye Chetan Soye Chanang La Chanju Badu Dane Gyezu Age Shushen Gebe Sonange Rola Bende Sangye Roba Sho 다다란 기란 좀이 가소래 지나 레게 뒤즈려 봐 차레 뒤즈래 아니 가소래 차레 뒤즈 테나네 디데페 bag문에 다다람이 지나 다른 말봐 셰 말이 이내야 디데페제 아니 베토나 첨번나 바시라 가보죠 제가 아니 정말 두치 쉬어체 아니 다 되는만 또 개시슈디 선배 주 선배 커도래야 개시슈디 꾸노 넘버 타베도 거네 세나고래 다 꾸노 같이 쉬살봐
So I'd like to first of all I'd like to thank you for coming this morning, despite the the weekday or work day. Despite that, you took a time to come to listen to these teachings. So I would like to thank you for that. And the most important thing is to make sure that we generate a proper motivation whenever we listen to the teachings.
다들 계속 쇼도 마시는 다 가래서나 마시마는 뒤주의 하면 다야 뒤순도는 야서 다 그래서 쇼들라 다들 또 슝고 ton다래 슝고 ton다 당다디 저버를 친사래 이게 가래서나 다 슝고 ton다 뭐들라 가래서나 아니 아니 저래 네 다가 슝고 ton다 아니 슝고 ton다 했을래야 된지 가져 열어서는 된지 숨이 열어 된지 숨 가래서나 아니 람존남손한테 다가라리 니중체 창조샘체 양탑에 따바체 대송부대마 송야체 임버레 다대 당보디 다 당고를 마시고다 나서 다데는마 남다 니중매와 시주이 대대 되니시베 타메라 실러간바 이경 류지나 꾸네 진짜 토마 니중 찰스 쓰제데
And so we'll start from where we stopped last time, yesterday. So this is the actual meaning of the text now. So the actual meaning of the actual part of the text is divided into three sections. So the three sections are the Renunciation, Bodhicitta, and the Correct View of Emptiness. And so the first one, which is the Renunciation, it says the purpose of generative renunciation. It says without the complete intention, definitely to be free from circling, there is no way to pacify attachment, seeking pleasurable effects in the ocean of circling. So, also by craving for cyclic existence, embodied beings are continuously bound. Therefore, at the very beginning, seek renunciation.
야, 다 당고 니중 셰버, 니중 셰버들라야, 아니 니중 최고의 금제. 다 니중 깨야게 탑시. 아니 니중 깨베 최체 숨이베 난게 다 단데디. 아니 가서 니중 최고의 금제 숨고요. 단데디 쓰제디.
And so among the three parts of this section, The first one is the purpose of generating renunciation, and then the second part is the method, for generating renunciation, how to generate renunciation, and then the third one is the criteria or the measure of having generated, the renunciation. So among these three, the first one here is talking about the purpose of generating renunciation.
他写上你就买呢，你就菜过了，你就买那更卡的药来是呢，他得送个药来，你就买呢。谁注意？他你那么你就买那可的是谁注意？等待同一些呗，他买了是，但你就买吧伊呢，谁不会被家族全部了呀？呢，可说嘞，他呀就是早晚的用过嘛的送过来，对他呢，是吧？ 他把那个地方啥的，特别可能用过嘛的是，西边他买了。借用的钱呢，给个拿去月了吧？给别东西，他给别东西买了别那个他，干过钱用多，干过钱用，那可少嘞。等我当初还我他，本来有的兴趣人生也有吧，兴趣人生，但兴趣人生，口就是干过钱，偷这个我当初太等自己几个月了吧，我中间嘛，但另一自己几个罗松去黄的他。 人家这个就是怕的干过去，我这个的最多的干过去，让心给嘛的，让干过去，肯定吃人生是吧？我的确有了干过去的，他看到，可说的，他改变东西啥的，可能是呢，你嘛，老叫我就住干的，没听得清，我呢没老就呀，这个来的吧，top的开始去听的。 听得到有的用啊，偷得进有些当我那鸟样怎么的想我呢？听得两个有的，干过茶的。他开始呢，我开来干着别人家那把水嘛的嘛多，我等到俺那是把了接下边吧，把了带的。你等到个啥水灵灵啊，就同样阿家就把了，把带下下，他的阿家的把是阿家等到俺的难得了，别吧。一会儿钱我看着给不了，这是拉么去。 但가서 로카시아 공로 춘주 된대지 봐. 셴바로 봐. 배든 거는 단에 되다 부족한 라다 인사. 근데 다 단다 경고 된대 차도. 걔는 아자도 믹스 컨트리스 개버다. 그래 다 된대를 봐. 제가 뭐 된대리. 다 가래서는 개배 동에 요래. 아니 나배 동에 요래. 다 나서는 알아서 알레 둔두시다 유시 알아서 밀어. 차샤나. 상년 돼야 간가 사야 말 봐. 왔다. 큐는스 디뉴 다 산대야 간가 야 말해. 사초구면 와. 다 사만 돼야 간가 사고고요. 다 제마도 간가 제고다. 알레 르리야 미신달지 컵스도가 요나. 컵스도나 참아준 딱나 컵스 가리게 그러 봐. 다 디어마 암질레 컵 갸로 지 토지치 배샤 파덴 탱기도 탱고 쏘고다. tako nazo yo dimna shakju chena gadwa kangbala wa che wa de yung gudwa o da de zo kare sana mindu shen to ngazo lüdin de la o yung gudwa o de yo da kwabe na le ya o dungi che da kasa nabe dungi ane tangaran zo da 지 대화 용아 체도 다 베게 가르서 오래 다 송잡야 송 람루 마주 어떤 원에 다네 가서 오래 백원에 다네 분구된 셈다 벽에라야 분구된 어딘데 연구도가 안에 사산디 사산 마찬 원에 다네 당가나서 다데 교회를 받아 어떻게 가라 게레쇼 근데 연구도가 어디 대소 강가 겁에 나게 되래 안에 세니를 못 켜니야 말아 어디 가르서나 이니 아마 전 또 강가 가서 예예 매매 시샤 매매 시샤 가인 고인 다 나셔라 바다 어딘데 손자 미지 비즈 틴드 디난데 다마시 망타주 대바이티 기버요한테 폐지 카고 해줘다 어딘데 제 어딘데 간다 될선 리잉 대만도 뭐네 다네 딘데 어딘데 제다 깨가 나치 디둥이디 여봐 어디체 다 간다 너드나 kwabe na nga ran su mi jin bi ne ngone ta ngone de kwa ma si bi ya zu ga che wo re di to lo to du nge yo re be de ngone ane ma wa lo ma be du nge yo re ben jo yu na ni ben jo yu yin be de ngone da so long pa ne du nge ge kya ne o tin de do wa si ji yo ta me ba da ngane ka le kya ko ben jo ten da ngone ta ne wa ta kya ge zu xie ba da kan da ben jo ten da ji ju gu ju zam ba de yin gu do wa o ning bu ke yo ma 어딘데 제가 코베나 유나 두스타 데 제가 어떠잖아 니주메나 어두 대보다
So if we don't seek renunciation, then we will not be free. Will not be able to free ourselves from the cyclic existence, from this great ocean of cyclic existence. So if we remain in cyclic existence, what happens is that we'll have to go through all these different kinds of sufferings. And of course, there are a lot of sufferings in the lower realms. And right now, we are born in upper realm as human beings. So human and gods are in the upper realm. And so as human beings, we have the great pleasure of being, born as human beings. But again, even though we have this pleasurable state of the upper realm, but still we're in cyclic existence, and we have to go through many different kinds of sufferings. And so there's the sufferings of birth, the suffering of aging, suffering of sickness, and suffering of death. So all this that we have to go through, all the suffering. So of course we have already gone through the sufferings of the birth, which you don't remember anymore, maybe. But we can understand the sufferings of the birth that we went through, and then the suffering of aging that we go through all the time now. We're very fortunate that we're aging, slowly, and if it were to happen suddenly, then it would be a big shock, to the mind, and may go crazy. So when we think about, when we were very young, like maybe when I think about my classmates, like 30 years ago, my classmates, and I see them after 30 years, and then suddenly I feel like, oh, you have grown so old, but I don't see myself growing old, and I see only others growing old. But I've also grown old, same as they have. So we're all growing old, all the time. So in Switzerland, I stayed in this lady's house, and then I saw her picture, when she was very young, and then I was asking, whose picture is this? And this is the lady, And I couldn't believe how old she has grown. So from that time, so it says that she was in India. She went to a school in the Tibetan settlement, but then she moved to Switzerland. Now she lived there, and she has grown. So anyway, so this is the suffering of aging. We're aging all the time, become older and older, and so go through that sufferings. And then we have the suffering of sickness. So when we fall sick, there's so much sufferings by the sickness itself, and also the things that are prevented from doing and eating or doing the things that we want to do when we're sick. We can't eat the food that we want to eat. We're always told not to eat this, not to eat that. This is harmful for this is harmful for that. And then we are told to eat the things that we don't want to eat, like the bitter medicines and so forth, and all these things we have to eat, and we have to do the things that we don't want to do, and not do the things, and not do the things that we want to do, and so forth. So even like if somebody were to come and stab you or prick you with a needle, you might fight with that person. What are you trying to do? But when we're sick, we actually go and ask for the needle. We ask for the injection, and when they prick the needle into our body, we even say thank you, and we pay them for pricking needle into our body. And so when you become sick, there's all these kind of sufferings, and then there's other sufferings like the sufferings of not being successful in the things that we do, like not becoming successful in our job or in our business, and going bankrupt, or getting into a quarrel and fight with the couples and the spouses, and and so there's a very difficult to find the real happiness in cyclic existence. And so no matter what kind of situation we are in, whether we're in a good situation or bad situations, in terms of wealth and status and so forth, there's always suffering. So if there's if you have a lot of possessions, a lot of money, then you have a stress of having a lot of money and worrying about where to keep it, how to protect it, and all these things, worrying that this will be stolen and so forth. So you always have this kind of stress. And if you don't have, and again, there's a suffering of not having it, and you have to work very hard. You might even, go to steal or tell lies, and so forth. So all these sufferings that we have to go through. So in cyclic existence, there is no place where there's no sufferings at all. So and there's nothing that we can really rely and say, oh, I can get happiness from this.
Tukwa te tebe tungis, tukwa rangu ne ten mandya ti ta ka ten koya, ten rore, tukwa te tebe tungi. Mi tukwa te tebe tungis, ra mandya so si yanyi di ten, ko ten di kuya man di ten, oda, mi tukwa tebe tungi. Debe ngobo zayjan mingi bas, ta zan debe ngobo kyan sikin doya da kya kyan dugo arba, ta di chikono sam zayga yore di, debe doya di ran deba na shikyo ni yoya kako arba, yoya yoya man, debe ngobo zayjan mingi be di tungi chik. 아니 민도부 타도 봐. 다 민도부 가려서는 다 가지 않나는 거네. 다네 도림 두제 드라마시 간가 누구야 말. 대 타도 봐. 라마야 말. 어다 딘데스 남자 수만나시 도스 되잖아. 딱딱해 돼요. 어다 대중가랑 가르디 가서 밀류니 야고 싶이 인서고로 봐지다. 레디 딘데 용거래. 어다 디체 딱 간단 너 되나? 아니 가당 고모주 송반나 신체 아니 딱 나도 니좀 매나 교양 가려 열었잖아. 아니 가서 오래. 딱 가서 오래. 털도 매배 좀 봐채버려. 좀 봐신다르지는 간도지 타서 사줘 봐. 좀 하나 그 뒤줄을 스카비는 간다. 타서 따도 만조 배 코베 정가 되나. 탄디네 타서 니좀 매나 kan 타야요 말. 털도 매배 좀 봐. 털도 매배 내봐세. 내버지나 매주지 간도지 타서 사줘 봐. 딱 만조 기현네. 비게 코베 나래야. never negin chan kyun oda dire da kanda o tinde che negin chan thausa yoman thodi mebe neba libdi mebe ndo mosudwa libdi mebe ndo nomor jin jin lene ngazo yin ta jagana yong de ta le do yan tinde che jig len do ba o dus le ya ji yori di khobe na gala libdi mebe ndo mos ta dine chin ngema ta gaso re ngazo khoba thoma mebe ne che yon dangone kale tanchera da ta kyun 단 러시아고요. 라마면 돼 라마요 말. 그러니까 가사 갈라게 신기 다 찍친 가와이는 동행냐 다 단다 답이야는 밀류된 미티스탕 알아서 탑제 데레디요. 어디리 예데데 마야도세 딱 간다. 오다 리드메벤 좀 란차디요다. 다 베티kø는 코베 나 찍친 베텐델라. 고 디네 주고 있어요 말 봐. 오 디네 제가 리드메벤 좀 뭐 다가 란차도. 니 중에나 다 디네 슈트. 도지 코바 칼리슈 사지요 봐. 어디 니 중국이요. 어떻지.
So it says very similar to what it said in lamrim, that we have the sufferings of being separated from the loved ones and the things that we like. We have the suffering of being separate from them, and then we have also sufferings of meeting with the undesirable things. The things that we don't want to face, and things, people that we don't want to meet with, and so forth. So there's the sufferings of those meeting with the undesirable and separated from the desirable ones. And no matter how much we seek, the things that we want, we can't find them. It's very difficult to find the things that we really want, and we always meet with the things that we don't want, and so therefore it is very difficult to find the things that we want, and unwanted things, always fall on us all the time without any limitation. That keeps coming all the time, and so just like the Kadam masters of the previous time says that if we don't have renunciation, then we can never be free from cyclic existence. We are like the prisoners who can never be free. It's the unfreeable prisoners. So prisoners, they serve their time and then they can be free at a certain time, right? But we are a prisoner who can never be free if we don't have renunciation. And and we are, also says that we are patient who can never be cured. So we even, the patients, the people who are stricken by some kind of disease can take medicine or can do the yogas and so forth, and practice and so forth, and then they can be cured. But as long as we have this renunciation, we can never be free from these diseases. We always have. And then also it says we are also like a guest or traveler who will never reach to our destination. And so if you're a traveler, you go from one place to one place, and then you say, okay, I have reached there now, I'm there, I don't have to go any further, things like that. So like, I came from India, I'm here now, so I have reached my destination. But as long as we're in cyclic existence, we are like a traveler who will never reach their destination. Always keeps on moving all the time. Since beginningless time, we've been coming and going and going, and we're still going. So we should be really tired by now, but we still keep going. As long as we don't have renunciation, we'll keep on going, we'll die, and then we'll be born again, and then we'll die, and so we keep on moving and going, or transmigrating like this, throughout all our lifetimes.
어떻게 다 간다. 어떤 느낌 간가 라비용 그래. 괜찮아 봐. 다다 괜데 더나 아니 그 텔레 탄도 용거 봐. 가래서는 빼나. 아니 정아 나를 수인배 두부 예비네. 아 다된데 저래서 디스 정아 교마동 어디 대신 텔레 탄도 끼고 말 봐. 탄도 다 가래서는 정관한테는 라마면도 괜찮듯이도 배듯이 텔레파 정아 탑이나 라완도 뭐네지 되게 타네 미게 정아 타는 연된데 통수나 될 탄도 기거라 봐. 어디는시 응을 지거래. 코베견 디게티 하 코바체 디세는 코베견다. 코바유나 코바를 탄 타로톱이나 연된 컨디시도 깨건나지 동에 좋아 봐. 되네. 다가는시 동에서도 명상이면 다 동에 몇 좋아 봐. 타바된 게 대와 세제 어떤 타바 충분히 있는다. 타바쯤 생겨 고반데 셰고 말 봐. 어떤 디 제제 니토비아 체도 아니 고백견 되게 이중견이 아니 그게 타바토비아지 요래 타벨랑 상계게 친지만로 되고 니체도 어디들라고 대만도 신신한 딘데 타바토비아 매버체 가게면은 아니 견람이 쇼견이야 말로 딘데 다 스미양지 대샤는 약쇼를 봐 딘데래요 말 또 대샤는 아니 가서라 디 용아야 말로 또잖아.
And so it is important to understand the faults, the drawbacks or the faults of the cyclic existence. So if you understand the drawbacks or the faults in the cyclic existence, then you will have the wish to be free from that. And then also you should think about the excellent qualities of liberation. So if you are liberated, then what will happen? You will not have to go through all these sufferings of birth, aging, sickness, death, and so forth. So you're completely free. And so when you understand that, then you will have the interest or the thought wanting to seek the liberation. And so we should always, we are talking a lot about that, and we have to understand the faults of the cyclic existence. And cyclic existence, if just like if you don't understand the the problems in the prison. And if you say, oh, it's okay, I don't mind to be in the prison, then you will not have to be, you will not have the wish to be free from free from a prison. So if you think that, oh, in the prison I have no freedoms and I have to do this, I have to do that. If I am free from the prison, I will have the freedom to do all other things that I want to do. So if you think like that, then you will have the wish to be free from prison. So just like that, you have to think about the good qualities of the liberation and the faults and the drawbacks of cyclic existence. When you have that, then you will want to achieve liberation and be free from cyclic existence. And so the renunciation, if the liberation is something that you can't be achieved, it can be achieved. It is and achieved by many holy beings, and it has been taught by Buddha the method to achieve and so forth. And so therefore we should strive on that. If it cannot be achieved, then there's no point thinking about the faults of the cyclic and the qualities good qualities of the liberation, right? And instead we can just distract ourselves and enjoy the time that we're there, right? But it's not like that. So there is a liberation, and if we achieve that, we can be free from all the sufferings. And so in order to achieve that, we have to have the renunciation.
다디네 니존게야게 니바 니존게야 탑시르부티 어더 델이야 니르샤 첸데 낭셴도야다 치메 낭셴도야스 첸데 낭셴도야 치메 낭셴도야 낭셴스는 첸데 낭셴르지나 말한주 지린 쉐게스르바 어더 베 지린 쉐게 그래서나 니바촌나 가바 니바 마촌나 메가바 아니 가소레 대바촌나 가바 동해촌나 메가바 년도 민여바 같은 가사 녀바촌나 가바 민여바촌나 메가바 떠바촌나 가바 아니 가서 또 세트 가르칼로 다티가 매바촌나 메가바서 어디 디장장 낭시 딱 틴디 장장 디체제 누구여봐 어디 판도 하고
And so the next one is how to generate renunciation. So there's the method for generating renunciation. And so this has two parts, giving up the attachment to this life and giving up the attachment to the next lifetime. And so the giving up the attachment to this lifetime is not falling under the 8 worldly concerns. And the 8 worldly concerns are like being happy if you gain, and not happy if you lost, or being happy if you're comfortable, and not being happy if you're uncomfortable, and being happy if you hear pleasant things, and being unhappy if you hear unpleasant things, or being happy if you are praised, and being unhappy if you are unpraised or criticized. And so those are the 8 worldly concerns. So that is the attachment to this life.
Oh yeah. 어다 네가 일단 로종 냠내 심이 진이 있는다. 고용하여 말해. 가서 그래. 가서. 아니 가서 그래 당버디. 다 잡아 주는 거 봐. 어다 잡아 연어 여봐 가서. 잡아 여비 있네 고 땅다는 뭐 소사 딥산치야다. 어다 다나시 비게 장신이 된치야 땅게. 가서 로종 냠내 연나. 티부 심비. 아니 잡아 매는 매와 가스다. 어다 잡아서야지 그래 손은 쏘도 마 어다 뭐서 손은 샌도 그래서 맨날 다가다 쌤들 배드는데 대고여 봐 어다 떠봐 주는 배 동아 당이 주네 아 그게야 뭐래 뭐나 가르쳐 야가 신 동아 당을 대등 뭐네 야버리 섬체 간다 어다 비게 디체 매봐 주네 랑 파지세도요 어떤 게만 랑그 파시는 봐 명아다네 에 딘데부드민 랑 랭인데부서 섬체 어체 대바윤이 어다 수고 대바윤이 야가라 봐. 대바윤은 가리 있네 제투고 봐. 대바윤은 배 대나 대바 가셔다. 가리 있네 거. 아니 조사 대장지 가리 있네 딱고 제투고 봐. 어다야 내바 있는 내바 가스다 가르스나. 아니 뭐사 그 레기티 봐. 어다 가르스나. 망고스다 그 동네 지야요. 어다 라나베 김서 현 dit다 간가 니 답쇼 봐. 어때 레그 디바 큐스 바다에 소요. 디체 딘데 딱 냠네 셰토비나. 도스 제 샤두 잠바 something 베트 간다 투야요 막간가. 야가 주네 비게 탐제 캠버스 타베 고만 타바침베 고만 드베 람키도 로고 주네 게 간데 주네 키투고요. 주나 디고고요. 디 매베체 아니 거베나나 어다 비게 가서 저바 첨부 주네 동네 그러면 배웅원에 타네 가다 저바 주는 중에 직동네 매는 매베 동네 어다 디르바 삼다 마시나 인데시 어다 디 인디가 만 온도시
So here, in order to counteract, with these 8 worldly concerns, if you engage in the practice of the mind training, that will be really helpful. So if someone who practices the mind training will think that if I gain something, or if I have a possession, if I gain a possession, that's very good. I can practice generosity. I can help poor. I can help to make offerings, to the 3 jewels and so forth. So you'll be happy in that way. And if you are, if you are poor, if you lost, if you poor, if you don't have a possession, if you lost possession, then again you can also think that this is good, that I have lost this now, I don't have to exhaust the merit of having possession, so that because it requires a lot of merit to have a possession. So if you don't have the possession, then your merit will not be exhausted and you'll be safe with it. So you can think like that. So so you can feel happy in either way, whether you're wealthy or poor, you can be happy in that way. And then if somebody praises you, then you can feel happy by thinking, oh, that's very good, that somebody is praising. And they're very, they're very, they're understanding the qualities, and then they're praising. That's very good. So if they praise, they understand the qualities, then they will have the interest to gain that qualities, right? So it's good, thinking like that. And then if they criticizes, and then they say, oh, that's very good also, because that removes my obstacles. And so I must have created negative karma by criticizing others before. So now somebody else somebody else criticizing me now, my negative karma of having of criticizing others is being purified now. So you feel happy in that way also, so by seeing that your negative karma, the result of negative karma, and coming to end. And so by seeing that, you can be happy. And then if you're comfortable, then you say, oh, this is very good, and I'm comfortable, I'm happy and comfortable. I can use this condition, the comfortable condition, to practice Dharma. So you have to be comfortable to practice the Dharma, right? And to help others in this. If you are not comfortable or unhappy or suffering, then you can also see that, oh, this is good. Now I have exhausted the result of the negative karma that I've created by causing harm to others. And then also at the same time you can engage in the practice of Tonglen, taking and giving. So, so just as you experience the sufferings, imagine you're taking all the sufferings of others, and you're experiencing that suffering on behalf of all of them, and so just as you experience, they are free of all those sufferings and so forth. So you can do the practice of the Tonglen like that. And so whatever conditions, whatever situations arise, you can use that in that way, thinking it's very good. And then whether it's a good condition or a bad condition, whether it's happy or unhappy, you should be able to take all that situation into the path to achieve enlightenment or liberation.
당고 최대 낭限多呀了呀，他直接的送的，天主你个这了龙买我一了过没，这的낭限多，我的天主你个这一了过没，这的낭限多，这的낭限多的的，天主你个。
And then the first one, which is giving up the attachment to this life, it is shown in the first verse of this number 4. It says, freedom and endowments are difficult to find, and life has no time to spare. By gaining familiarity with this, attraction to the appearance of this life is reversed. It means attachment to this life is abandoned.
Oh yeah, that the Teba get on job juicing church job yet. Sunday at the time, I was on when it's the picture. Me in the can get a Sango Madi in any Telbasana. Takanda Teba get the church of Comba. Mekomba Suresana, Nyaba Yeda to do some check, and take on Hazard which and Chicago or Mima Imba or Hiche, me Imbale, and Nicasa, Lord Agenda La Loda, and Casa. Gabeka Mesa, Sanga Tavan Mesa gave him at Tagana, she lambat Kuba Lingu. Tina, me be in a Kumikumbare, that the Gabotelaya tile tabi na ane khomba chelong yore tiche geche mtoche.
So the freedom and endowments are difficult to find. So the freedom and endowment is the attributes of the perfect human rebirth. And so if you have all these the 8 freedoms and the 10 endowments, then that is considered as perfect human rebirth. And so the 8 freedoms, and then that's freedom from the non-freedoms, freedom from non-freedoms. And so non-freedoms, so non-freedom to practice dharma. And so those are there's 4 of the non-humans and 4 within 4 that is within that are non-humans, and then 4 within the humans. And the 4 the non-humans are the 3 lower realms, so the hell realm, hungry ghost realm, and the animal realm, and the long life gods. So those are the 4 non-humans, and the human beings. And even if you are born as human beings, if you are born with a strong wrong view, you will not practice Dharma. You will not be able to practice Dharma. Or if you are born as a barbarian, or born in a place where there's no Buddha's teaching, or born with no complete senses, then you will not be able to practice Dharma. So those are the 8 freedoms and 8 non-freedoms from non-freedom that prevents one from practicing Dharma.
Ta jobo chu telia rangjong rang gone changwa ming ngayo ngad khares mingi wigi ongbo sang leda malo nela tes mingi yimba mingi wigi usena chö ta se longba gese ta de ma ye bi ne chö ta yu sa ji ne de ge ta wigi mingi wigi wongbo changs ta dang bu wongbo chang ba de dang bu ni ne mi za ba de me de ge mi twa me ba ane amjo yong go tesu se yo de dang bu ni ne wongbo ma chang de ta nge ma wongbo yo ba che chi ran de yuan xiao ba de se ge yo ma 我당不进的呢，我听着马上没吧，我不常常有吧，当不一进的，民以为就往不常，来到马路时，他来个他是呢，他开始参面是个的，他做的开始是呢，看老当的在哪呢，别个让个我呢，看到啥事了，看到啥，我呢他呢，他看到路数我们那边去的，秋的路相当于样嘛，我听着没吧，民以为往不常。 来到马路去，那了台是对什么？他那了台啥的？你做商业的去，比个开的是呢，他把动了的，他把拖把了，他马桶给开的来到，这拖把了开的鼓鼓多，开的鼓鼓的意思呢，羊特别大把鼓鼓的，丁中东北传到的现鼓了，我到底看着这家把钱，听我呢他那台是他得了呀，你搞不起来，我呢他那他的。 먼저 타바토 배우고 연나 맨날 상에 되신 딘심이 신고지. 어다 대스나 들 매봐요 봐. 디체 다만 거는 상고에 가봐 디체. 나체 디스나이다. 그렇죠.
And then the 8 so those are the 8 leisures or 8 freedoms from the non-freedoms. And then the 10 endowments. The 10 endowments. There are 5 circumstantial, the endowments, and the 5 personal endowments. So the 5 personal endowments are being born as a human being, being born in a central land, having complete senses, not having committed any heinous crimes, and having faith in the teachings of the Buddha. And so those are the 5. So being born as a human, of course, one has to be born in as a human beings, which we are, and then being born in a central land, is a place where there's the teaching. So where the teaching has flourished, and so in that place, being born in that, and then having all the complete senses, so not being born as a blind or deaf. So here it's saying born as a blind and deaf, not becoming deaf and blind later, but being born. So it's not if somebody who became blind or deaf later, then that's not considered as not having these endowments. So if you are born with the that incomplete senses, like being blind or deaf, and that's what it means. And then having committed the extreme actions. So extreme action, some explanation says the 5 heinous crimes, the heinous crimes, but also. And also means like being honest, and not being biased and being honest. And so so if you are biased and not honest, then there's no way you will accept that and you will be able to practice Dharma. And so and then having faith in the Buddha's teaching. And so in order to achieve a state of enlightenment, full enlightenment or liberation, what do we need? What do you need? In order to achieve liberation, you have to realize emptiness, and so this is what emptiness is, and so forth. So having faith, a belief in emptiness. So that's the fifth one. So those are the five personal endowments.
어디체 랑종아 다 현종아데 튕게 현에 상와서래 네가래서는 상계 전당 대주송 담반내다 대진주 신진인의 저거 송는 시제다 상계 지대는 전에 다저도 뭐 상계 좀 되대도 인다 지대 전에 숙심 봐이마 다 대단다 요 말에 상계 전다 대주송 어다 주 가서래 다 추응을 봐 송심 봐이마 상계 전 대주송 다 추응을 송 상계 거 송심 받다 요 말마 대체 송체 아니 땜반내다스 데뷔 땜반내봐 데뷔 땜바스나 상계다 전배 뒤들이야 아니 최지제선 다좀 버텀도야 타바텀 람삼미게 통야 과라 비게 그도도 배 다좀 트라만 배 가서 비게 지나 러도 총선데 디크돌이야 딱제钱니 딱제 난제 다좀 토투서래 말에 탐제 캠에 고마 토투서만 땡은 딱제 땡디디디 钱니 아니 신에 디투니 땡에만 땡내 난 거예요 서봐 땡에만 땡 리뷰트로 봐 자산티 단다 요 말은 어디체 땜반내다 땜반내다 그래서 두배 땜반내봐 라서 대신 주스 다 대제는 주봐 다 가래서는 미기 때네 문에 자네게 비게 아니 최전 세다가라는 거네 다존데부터 탈바톰도 미기 돈도 좀다 대시고 주고로 봐 대신 주야 다 대지비랑 중도제네 어디 다이 어디체 아니 신진이도 다 가래서는 현계랑 그 튕긴 거대야 다 세대야 다 디스오래 현에 뒤고고 쭉 튕긴 어디 전에 다 이내야 아니 단대 뒤줄을 상경 거 수고해요 말에 다 다가는 시 뒤치는 거 수고해요 말에 데비드만 내 봐요 말에 다가는 시요 말다 뒤좀 땡데 창거요 말에 뭐 창거요 말이 이내 아니 상계 꾸더스는다 당한도 나란주 뒤체비는 단다 상계는 막 규비 발음에 제비시지 다 간다 아니 라마도 샹다비 권서 경고 첨부 더비 달라마 최송이 상계 다 비게 람 찾아마 때나게 다 상계 되어버지로 왔다 딘다봐 어디체 안에 뒤 최송 봐 여러분 최송 뭐네 타네 다 다음에 때 최대 셰비송 항상 해봐 딘데 최송아 어디 요래 아니 땜반 내봐스 두배 땜반네 딱 간다 딘데 통해야 돼요 근데 유도 시브레 고 다좀 통해도 유디 이난 거 선수도 시라 통해야 말아 이내야 땜반 내도요 된다 춘냠이요 말아 내매 아니 비게 가래서나 실르고 규 롱왕 다 되면 가래서나 가 차나 규만에 제 된다 가서 많이 받지 제 된다 포도 내도요 어디 뒤 거치고요 때문에 뒤진 주고서나 다 가래서다 뺀나 돈버르지나 돈베 규면은 곧다 주고야 거래요 말아 소단 돈버르지나 어디 전주스면 돈 가는 돈베 규면이 된데서 주제 상계 땜발 중 주고야 단데 돼 랑 주고야 흉도선 현 중이요 디체 주체 신진인의 저거 다 간다 튕기 여봐 튕기 원에 타네 먼저 최진이 삼반남다 전에 도시 되게 말스 그 분기 매도 돼 말스 원에 타네래 최남다 진이는 도시태도 있자잖아요 말. 신 튕긴 가와있네 연구요. 근데 내가 상계 좀 된다겠다. 통문 된지 통문 판에. 어떤 데스당 뭐 보면 된대나네. 대인소. 저는 다 뒤탄다 요어 봐. 어디 상도요래. 뒤체다 좁게 되어를 피지 상도 와.
And so those are the personal endowments, and then there's the circumstantial, endowments that has to come from the outside or from the side of the others. And so those are having the Buddha come into this world, and having Buddha having taught the teachings, and his teachings, is thriving, and then there is the disciples or the practitioners are following his teachings, and there are also people, compassionate benefactors, who are supporting the people who practice. So these are the five circumstantial endowments, that has to come from the outside, from the side of the others. And so when we talk about Buddha having come in this world, so of course, there's no Buddha now. Buddha have already passed away into nirvana. So it has to be time when Buddha has come. So actual one for the actual. There has to be the time when Buddha has come, and then also has to be the Buddha who was giving teaching, who's giving the teaching. So, and that also we don't have the actual Buddha teachings. We don't have that, and then the teachings of the Buddha thriving or flourishing at that, and it has to happen also. And so here we're talking about not just the teachings, but the resultant teachings. So when we talk about resultant teaching, means the results that comes from the practicing of that teaching right away. So like people who achieve liberation or state of arhat, they achieve that result right away from practicing. So during the time of Buddha, when someone wants to be ordained, they check thoroughly about the person. They see whether the person have the potential to become arhat and that in that lifetime or not. If they don't have that potential, then they are not fit to become a monk or nun. And if they have, then they will be ordained. So they will be ordained by seeing whether they have that potential to become arhat or not. And so then once they see that potential, and then they become they become monk or nun, they are given the ordination, and then they will follow the teaching. So there is these people who follow the teachings, right? Who practice all the time. And then of course the benefactors, they're who are supporting the sanghas, the practitioners, who are practicing honestly, and so these are the 5 circumstantial endowments. So we don't have we don't have most of these, the actual ones, but we have similar to that. So like we don't have the actual Buddha Shakyamuni giving teaching, at this time teaching, but we have similar to Buddha Shakyamuni, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, right, who is the emanation of Avalokiteshvara, and is like Buddha, right, but not Buddha Shakyamuni, but like Buddha Shakyamuni, and the teachings that he gave, he, someone like him giving teaching, is same as Buddha giving teaching. So if you listen, to the teachings of His Holiness, it is amazing. So it's mind blowing, right? And how much he knows and how he teaches and all these things, is really amazing. So we have some the teachings like that. And the teachings of the Buddha thriving, the resultant teaching, we don't have right now. We can't say that somebody will achieve liberation or arhatship, and therefore the person will be advanced and so forth. We don't have that such kind of things, but it is again possible, right? We can't say nobody will achieve any results, any realization. So there is a possibility that people general realizations achieve liberation and so forth through following the teachings even now, right? And so then the people who are following these teachings, so after they receive the ordination, then they follow the teachings. So at this time, even now, there are monks and fully ordained monks and nuns who have the authority or the ability to confer the vows of the monks and nuns to other people, and then there are also other people who take these vows and then they follow the teachings and practice, keep the samayas or the vows and the commitments and follow those teachings. So there are people who are following the teachings, the Buddha. So we have all those 4, and then of course we have the benefactors, right? So if you really practice honestly, you will never die of starvation. So that's what Buddha himself said. So if you practice honestly, you don't have to worry about not finding a food or not finding a clothes to wear. So this is like the prayer of truth, that was prayed by the Buddha himself. That is, as long as whoever practices my teachings truthfully will never die of starvation. So these are the 10 endowments, the 5 personal and the 5 circumstantial.
어때 송인산다 다 민가란조 로치중 가리비네 추적게란도 상도면도 되나 상딱 간다고 해도 상요래 된다 어디 송인산 아니 비게 가고 공부해 그래서나 배는 지된을 지는 지된을 내가 나가 접게 좀 고도下去 주저 정도스나 다 강가 맞으면 됐어 가봐 공부를 봐 어디는 간도 단다 네 접게 되지 상야 돼 뭐네 가봐 공부해 네 컨디션에서나 접게 돼 아니 사야다 랑 백가리 겸는 연구를만도 개봉만에 간다 가리 겸 따다 같이 최전의 연구를 디만도 미밀라티니 현다 티제 디트 쏴야요 말에 당연한 시민 변조심 변조 때제 총관하는 녀야 소리요 말에 세상 단단 딘디 사야디 예매 아니 랑 가리 때문에 단다 어다 쭉 비게 가서다 쭉 터는 두버 손자 어디 손자 다 가봐 공부고요. 어떠시?
So if we think about these 18 attributes, then we'll see that we have, all of these 18 attributes, right? So not being born in the three lower realms, having been born as human beings, all those qualities, and all these endowments and so forth. So we should really rejoice, in our own condition, in our own situation, for having all these 18 attributes, of the prophethood and rebirth. And so, say for example, somebody who have aimed, to do 18 things, so out of 18 things, and if he was able to accomplish 10 of them, he'll be happy, right? And so, I've been able to accomplish majority of it. So, so thinking that the person, will feel happy and will be rejoiced, right? Will be rejoicing. So just like that, the 18 attributes, of the prophet that we have now, is gained, by working very hard, through practicing Dharma and so forth, So in order to achieve that, we have gone through so much difficulties and so much practice of Dharma. It is not something that is given by somebody, just like somebody gives you a gift. And it's not like that. And it is not something that you can buy, with the money. You can't go to a shop and say, oh, I want to buy these 18 attributes, the prophet of Rinpoche. You can't do that. You have to achieve that through practicing Dharma. The very wholeheartedly, and so therefore having achieved that, you should rejoice.
뭐야 어제 텐조르체 니가스 다디 아니 니야데 갈래 가고 그랬어 디 단니야 갈래 가고 가나 가사다 갈래 가고서 다 람리나 챤나 배고는 니가 뭐 외고는 교고는 니가 뭐 숨숨했다 배고는 람리단 알리 담에 시켜놔서다 디 가사디 주로 님버스나 대타 그러면도 알리 예치서 있잖아. 디체 다 알리 뭐 외관에 질라나 비지 라비는 뭐 외관에 가래서나 먼저 알리 미다 미기 통야다 둔두를 봐. 둔두다 미 마유 딱 들이나 야가로 이제 미 주제 숑서지 나데 둔두 큰데도 심지 그제도 직대비나 둔두배 장매요. 미주마도 숑서지 와만디 도스 망유 쇼여 봐. 어디체 다 미낭네 도스직 돌네 그래서나 알레 망체딘 쉐 야고레스라모도는 그 이지요 말아요. 딘디스 알레 디 남고상게 비추어서 지난 최고가 이지미요 말아요. 딘디스 대요 봐. 다 디네 쉐리 이지 예배 나네 아니 도스직 당망유 대비나 오다 디 가소래 남괴쉐로 지는 폐지 다는 알아서 내릴 때인데 니는 민망이 그러지 출 도난싱이 하장 공부를 돼요. 이게 어디 공부를 해요. 어디체 다출 도난 제비네 고 오늘 암조니 수수비 냠네 딱 간다 냠네스 그래 락렌스 말다 락렌스는 비라고 냠네 생구 교바다야 쓰여 봐. 어디 뒤칭인데 하장 공부를 봐. 도스 뒤체디 뭐벽원에도 스텝이네. 어디 시라망유 쇼도래. 디 뭐고네 하장 딱 하고 차요. 공부. 딱 교권의 상당히는 아니 대조 류린 토바 딱 교권의 시험 조 교권의 시험다. 교권의 시험 대조 류린 소바 알레 수련 넘버 대비 시송 대조 류린 토바 수련 나가지기네 뼈가 타고 시송 거. 뭐도 디 토바 켜니요 막. 교 나란주 녀린 교사죠 봐. 수련 넘버 타고 지. 알레 넘바 니샤 지금 넘바 있는다. 다 나도 그 대진 소중에 니샤 지금 넘바 봐. 뒤는 넘바 타고 서. 넘바리면 가다 찍 수련 나가지. 어디 간다. 나가지 이제 시작 간다. 넘바 타고 쏜 거고요. 대체 엔딩하는 면은 그래. 진소 퍼진 두고서 면은 주면 사죠. 다 디가는 고디 튕기 시다 튕기를 봐. 진소 퍼진 두고 도체 아니 면은 주면 3자 정도가 튕기로 대조 류된 톰니 엔비게 디야 고 야보시 고거로 봐. 저가 전부 다 가는 시대의 요인 튕기로도 딘데 사고. 제단디 교육원의 제비네. 다또 교육원은 상담. 저도 하장이 까 그래. 원터잖아. 그러면은 되부디 거 말 원터잖아.
So the freedom and endowments are difficult to find. So it says this prophet with all these 18 qualities, 18 attributes, is extremely difficult to find. And so now, just like it is explained in the lamrim, it here also talks about how difficult it is to find this prophet in rebirth. And so and then that is explained in many different ways, in terms of the nature, in terms of the example, in terms of the cause that is required to that is required to create in order to achieve profitable rebirth. And so the examples are very, very extreme, and maybe unless you are older students, it would be maybe difficult to understand or accept if you are newcomers like that. And then so in terms of the nature, so when we compare the number of the sentient beings, just compare the human beings with the animals, and in like monsoon time, in the rainy season, all these animals come out. So in a place where we can feed only 10 people, if you were to count how many animals, like the insects that can feed, there would be like countless of insects can feed in an area that can feed only about 10 human beings. And and so those are just the number, compared with the other types of beings. And then when you compare, within the human beings, the number of people who believe in the teachings, who practice teachings and so forth, then it's really extremely rare. So in this world, how many people there are among these, how many people accept religions, right, or accept Buddhism, and how many are there? There's very less, who even accept Buddhism. And then how many are there among who accept Buddhism, who really practice it, who really put into practice? That's extremely less. Not just putting in practice, but really, meditating and practicing to change one's mind, to transform one's mind. How many people really do that is much less than the people who accept the Dharma, who says, oh yeah, religion is good, Buddhism is good, who says that, right? And so when you compare these numbers like that, it's extremely rare to find human beings who really practice Dharma. And so that's what we're talking about in terms of the nature. And then in terms of the cause that is required to create in order to achieve this profitable rebirth. So he said the actual cause for achieving human rebirth is a observation of the morality, observing the morality properly. And so morality, so whatever morality, whatever vows that you take, you should keep that properly, perfectly. So even if it's just a day vow, like 8 minor precepts, if you just then during that time, whatever vows that you take, you keep it properly, and so whatever kinds of vows that you keep that properly, then you'll create a cause to be born as human beings. And then on top of having created that cause, the observing of the morality, then also you have to have other practices done, like such as generosities and so forth, practice of generosity and so forth. Those are like the condition, a good condition to have a good rebirth as human beings. So and then also has to be applied, and then you have to apply stainless prayers and so forth in order to have this profitable rebirth. So if you are born as human beings, but if you are born very poor, you can hardly keep yourself alive, then of course you will not have time to practice Dharma, right? Even if you are born as human beings, and even if you have belief, or a faith in the teachings, so you have to have a good facilities, right, to practice Dharma. So this is very important, to engage in other practices such as morality and so generosity and so forth.
What is it? Teacher, ngemaje the sobarum jing odo ta songju nyamdo ke sobarum ji ji di tije ani pe ga ne dan da di kasa di lamrim ji yor ba di che ja zhen na ne ribe ji ya twen ne ge ta se gi nya shi bu ji di na ne ribe ke su ji de de ti ji ta di ji di ka yin go sam sam ten zhe de ke za rum ji de ji tije ta de de sam dan de ji che de ke de ji ji lu gyu che ji di che de ji dan chen na ne sam dan da da yo ber ji mo ne 가서 다니지 요거를 봐. 아니 나란조 알레 리베디 미네야 되미 롱어체는 이게 자주칼라 세기냐 신부 이구지 모다면 되나는 고수야 개수야를 갖고 싶을 많고 개수 이게 더 개수는 그 세게 디르신 예신 자체는 미체는 배 강가 통 디스 용구여를 송다 다가래다 어디지 나란조 아니 축지지 다 가서래 미르디 데 가서 공산 당갈래 소재로 큐스 야 공산 당갈래바다 미 데카사 미 류티 라제데 야비는다 간다 티격도 라제 공산 당갈래베 거도데 enemy tibochim be chode tegu yamsem shiorwa chi 10 ngone tane mikcheba na shinta tarban dochojo cha용orwa 어디 잡아도 누군가네 타네 비가사도 구기도 쉽도 상다나
So about the example, how difficult it is to achieve in a prophet rebirth, and when it's explained with example, one time when I was receiving teaching with Lama Tsongkhapa, Rinpoche was drawing, drawing the example of difficult to achieve in a prophet rebirth. The example was about the turtle, a blind turtle, inserting its neck inside in the ring, a golden ring or golden yoke, that is floating on the surface of ocean. So there's so Rinpoche has, I was drawing that, I looked at it, I was, what is he trying to draw, and later I found out that was the example of the turtle inserting its head into the hole of the yoke, golden yoke that's floating on the. So the example is that there's a blind turtle that lives in the bottom of the ocean, and once in 100 years it comes up to the surface. And so the chances for it to insert its neck, head into the golden yoke, that is floating on the surface of the ocean, is like virtually impossible, right? So it's almost like impossible, but it happens, right? So but it's possible to happen, and so just like that, and that's how we are born as human beings, right? Like by coincidence, we are born as human beings. So. So when you are able to, like the blind turtle, when he is able to insert his head into the golden yoke, then suddenly his eyes, he's able to see, and he can see the whole world. So just like that. So we become like that. So we are born as human beings, and it's like we're coming on a vacation, having renting this body, and coming on a vacation. And so during and which is for a very, very short time, right? So just like going on vacation, and when the vacation's over and we don't have that time anymore, so just like that you will not have this body anymore. And so it's very amazing. So at this very short time of our vacation, we are born with this human rebirth, and having met with the teachings of the Mahayana teachings of the Buddha, so that's very amazing, right?
예, 어떠잖아. 어디지? 딱 어디 대줄류인데 이거네 전에게 저기 니 갖고 싶지. 레디야. 니 갖고. 니 갖고 제 딘데지리디 가르스나. 니니 가르요 알았으나. 전다침부 싶. 전심부 싶도 나디. 전심부 니 갖고 제 된다 루야면은 그 이만히 한데 그러 봐. 제가 다 닝이 있으나 되네 랑거 된다 침부 쉬운도 그래서나 아니 거사 미 둘레되는 동이 추치려도 미 두딩에서나 동이 과백 가져를 된 탈바된 게 되고 토야 네 연구요래. 네 연구. 단다가 알아서 파고 내린 주로 제제 봐. 딜리딩 알아서 지금 지견래도 내마. 아니 파고 내린 주로 나네. 아니 거사 당보도 내대 예란중 때 당보 데려봐 가서 김다 미진스 아마디 메라다디 코베나는 수다 된샤는 대체 어디 미진다데 루기 킹게 그냥 루기는 그냥 어디 그러다 라 하고 김다 미진사고 김다 미진디 어제 근데 다들 루기는 그때는 거 어떻게 말해 지단
손하나 되게.
라서 김다 미진사 다 럽샤고 제가 김다 미진디